Hello, I'm here in the lovely Union Square Park in New York. I continue reading from Hazrat Inayat Khan's incredible book, The Art of Being and Becoming. The heat wave has gone down, so it's quite comfortable outside now. Let's see where I left off. We're on the chapter called The Struggle of Life. The waves of the sea go up and down. The animal believes that they rise and fall for it. It thinks the wave raises me, so it is favorable to me, or it lowers me, so it is unfavorable. In the same way, man thinks a friend is favorable or unfavorable to him, but then he realizes that this is the nature of the world. In all of us, there's the nafs, the ego, and every ego fights against the others. There's a sword in every hand, both in that of the friend and in that of the enemy. The friend kisses before he strikes. There is no other difference. And then one realizes that nothing else can be expected of the world. The great Indian poet Tulsidas has said, everyone does as and says as much as he has understood. Why should a man blame another for what he cannot understand? If he has no more understanding, from where can the poor man borrow it? Then a person begins to realize that whatever comes, he should take it calmly. If an insult comes, he takes it calmly. If a good word comes, he accepts it with thanks. If a bad word comes, he takes that quietly. If it is a bad word, he is only thankful that it is not a blow. If it is a blow, he is thankful that it is not worse. He is ready to give his time and his services to all, to the deserving and the undeserving alike, for he sees in all the manifestations of God. He sees God in every form, in the highest and the lowest, in the most beautiful, in the most worthless. The Sufi says that if God is separate from the universe, he would rather worship a God who can be seen, who can be heard, who can be tasted, who can be felt by the heart and perceived by the soul. He worships the God who is before him. He sees the God who is in everything. Christ said, I and the Father are one. That does not mean that Christ laid claim to Godhood for his own person. It is what the dervishes call Nami Mouse, which means all is he, and he is all. There is not an atom in the universe that he is not. We must recognize him. We must respect him in every face, even in the face of our enemy, of the most worthless, knowing that all is God by reading a few books on philosophy is not enough. Our piety and our spirituality are valueless if we do only this. To read a religious book and feel pious is not enough. To go to some religious place and be pleased that we are religious is not enough. To give to charity and be conceited, believing that we have done something great, is not enough. We must give our services and our time to the deserving and undeserving alike, and we must be thankful to God that he has enabled us to give. For this is the only opportunity we have of giving. This life is short, and we shall never have the same opportunity to give, to serve, to do something for others. In the Sermon on the Mount it is said, whoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. Someone may say or think that he should hit back, but a Sufi would not hit back. Why? Because he does not want 20 blows instead of one. It is said that if a man asks you for your coat, you should give him your cloak also. Why? Because neither the cloak nor the coat are yours. If someone thinks this is mine, I should keep it, I should guard it. He will always be watching his goods. If they are yours, whose were they before? Whose will they be after you? Someone will take them after you, and all that you value so much will be in the hands of others. Then it is said that if someone asks you to go with him 1 mile, you should go with him 2 miles. That means if someone makes use of our services, let us not think, why should I, such an important person, serve another, give my time to another? Let us give our services more liberally than we are asked to do. Let us give service. Give our time. But when the time for receiving comes, do not let us expect to receive anything. Let us not expect our friend to be as we are to him. That will never be possible. We must then practice renunciation. We must practice virtue because we like it. Do good because we like to do it, and not for any return. Expect no kindness or appreciation. If we do, it will become a trade. This is the right way for the world in general, the only way of becoming happy. Its moral is called the moral of renunciation. There are two different attitudes that people adopt while going through the struggle of life. One struggles along bravely through life, the other becomes disappointed, heartbroken before arriving at his destination. As soon as a person loses the courage to go through the struggle of life, the burden of the whole world falls upon his head. But he who goes on struggling through life, he alone makes his way. The one whose patience is exhausted, the one who has fallen in the struggle is trodden upon by those who walk through life. Even bravery and courage are not sufficient to go through the struggle of life. There is something else that must be studied and understood. One must study the nature of life. One must understand the psychology of the struggle. In order to understand this struggle, one must see that there are 3 sides to it. Struggle with oneself, struggle with others, and struggle with circumstances. One person may be capable of struggling with himself, but that is not sufficient. Another is able to struggle with others, but even that is not sufficient. A third person may answer the demands of circumstance, but this is not enough either. What is needed is that all 3 should be studied and learned, and one must be able to manage the struggle in all 3 directions. The question is, where should one begin and where should one end? Generally, one starts by struggling with others, and then one struggles all through life and never finishes. The one who is somewhat wiser struggles with conditions, and perhaps he accomplishes things a little better. But the one who struggles with himself first is the wisest. For once he has struggled with himself, which is the most difficult struggle, the other struggles will become easy for him. Struggling with oneself is like singing without an accompaniment. Struggling with others is the definition of war. Struggling with oneself is the definition of peace. In the beginning, outwardly, it might seem that it is cruel to have to struggle with oneself, especially when one is in the right. But the one who has penetrated deeper into life will find that the struggle with oneself is the most profitable in the end. What is the nature of the struggle with oneself? It has 3 aspects. The first is to make one's thought, speech, and action answer the demands of one's own ideal, while at the same time giving expression to all the impulses and desires that belong to one's natural being. The next aspect of the struggle with oneself is to fit in with others, with their various ideas and demands. For this, a person has to make himself as narrow or as wide as the place that he is asked to fill, which is a delicate matter, difficult for all to comprehend and to practice. The third aspect of the struggle with oneself is to give accommodation large or small, as the demand may be to others in one's own life, in one's own heart. When we consider the question of the struggle with others, there are also three things to think about, of which the first is how to control and govern people and activities that happen to be our duty, our responsibility. Another aspect is to learn how to allow ourselves to be used by others in various situations in life. To what extent we should allow others to make use of our time, our energy, our work, or our patience, and where to draw the line. And the third aspect to consider is how to fit in with the standards and conceptions of different personalities who are at various stages of evolution. Regarding the third aspect of this struggle, there are conditions that can be avoided, and there are conditions before which one is helpless. And again, there are conditions that could be avoided, and yet one does not find in oneself the capability, the power, or the means to change them. If one studies these questions of life and meditates in order that inspiration and light may fall on them, that one may understand how to struggle through life. One certainly will find help and arrive at a stage where one finds life easier. So many birds around here. The Sufi looks upon the struggle as unavoidable, as a struggle through which he has to go. He sees from his mystical point of view that the more he takes notice of the struggle, the more the struggle will expand. And the less he makes of it, the better he will be able to pass through it. When he looks at the world, what does he see? He sees everybody with their hands before their eyes, looking only at their own struggles, which are as big as their own home. He thinks, shall I also sit down like this and look at my struggles? That will not answer the question. His work, therefore, is to engage in the struggle of others, to console them, to strengthen them, to give them a hand. Through that, his own struggle dissolves, and this makes him free to go forward. How does the Sufi struggle? He struggles with power, with understanding, with open eyes, and with patience. He does not look at a loss. What is lost is lost. He does not think of the pain of yesterday. Yesterday is gone for him. Only if a memory is pleasant does he keep it before him, for it is helpful on his way. He takes both the admiration and the hatred coming from around him with smiles. He believes that both these things form a rhythm with the rhythm of a certain music. 1 and 2. The strong accent and the weak accent. Praise cannot be without blame, nor can blame be without praise. He keeps the torch of wisdom before him because he believes that the present is the echo of the past, and that the future will be the reflection of the present. It is not sufficient to think only of the present moment. One should also think where it comes from and where it goes. Every thought that comes to the Sufi's mind, every impulse, every word he speaks, is to him like a seed that falls in the soil of life and takes root. In this way he finds that nothing is lost. Every good deed, every little act of kindness, of love done to anybody will someday rise as a plant and bear fruit. The Sufi does not consider life as different from business, but he sees how real business can be achieved in the best manner. The symbol of the mystics of China was a branch laden with fruit in their hand. What does this mean? It means that the purpose of life is to arrive at that stage where every moment becomes fruitful. And what does fruitful mean? Does it mean fruits for oneself? No, trees do not bear fruits for themselves, but for others. True profit is not that profit which one makes for oneself. True profit is that which one makes for others. After attaining all that one wants to attain, be it earthly or heavenly, what is the result of it all? The result is only this, that all that one has attained, that one has acquired, whether earthly or heavenly, one can place before others. Prabhakar, which is the language of the Vedanta, means working for the benefit of others, is the only fruit of life. Chapter 9. The wisdom of the warrior, willpower. In this continual battle of life, the one who stands firm through it all comes out victorious in the end. Even with all power and understanding, if one gives up through lack of hope and courage, one has failed. What brings bad luck in this life, in this battle, is a pessimistic attitude. And what helps man to conquer in the battle of life, however difficult, is an optimistic attitude. There are some in this world who look at life with a pessimistic view, thinking that it is clever to see the dark side of things. To some extent, it is beneficial to see the difficult side also. But the psychological law is such that once the spirit is impressed with the difficulty of the situation, it loses its hope and courage. Once a person asked me if I looked at life with a pessimistic attitude or if I was an optimist. I said, an optimist with open eyes. Optimism is good as long as the eyes are open, but once the eyes are closed, then optimism can be dangerous. In this battle, drill is necessary, and that drill is control over one's physical organs and over the faculties of the mind. For if one is not prepared for this battle, however courageous and optimistic one may be, one cannot succeed. Another thing is to know something about this warfare, to know when to retreat and when to advance. If one does not know how to retreat and wishes always to advance, one will continually be in danger and will become a victim of life's battle. There are many people who, in the intoxication of life's battle, go on fighting. In the end, they will meet with failure. Young people, strong and hopeful, who have had fewer difficulties, may think of nothing else but battling against all that stands in their way. They do not know that it is not always wise to advance. What is necessary is first to fortify one's position, and then to advance. One can see the same thing in friendship and business, or in one's profession. A person who does not understand the secret of the law of warfare cannot succeed. Besides, one must protect one's own on all sides. Very often, what one does in the intoxication of the battle is to go on and on without protecting what belongs to one. How many people in the courts and law cases for perhaps a very little thing go on and on spending money? In the end, the loss is greater than the success. Again, how many in this world will perhaps lose more than they gain, only because of their fancy or pride? There are times when one must give in. There are times when one must relax things somewhat. And there are times when one must hold fast the reins of life. There are moments when one must be persistent, and there are moments when one must be easy. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe. Join me in the next video. May you find lasting happiness. Bye.